Yeah, calisthenics number 12. Yeah. Fly robotics. Bifocals, my only purpose is to feed the locals. I'm spreading love when I see you and gotta approach you. I see the goodness in you, I wouldn't John Wick you. I know you hustling for your family just to pay the fiscal. I see the God up in you, you bless your physical. While we navigating problems, the world is abysmal. Skip the one up, let's get it to the center. Your house is big as mine, we can always help each other. Affirmation smother, it ain't even cost me a dime to uplift my brother.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Vulnerability is the New Sexy. Hey, this is part 4 of the relationship series. Parts 1, 2, and 3 went very well. I'm getting a lot of great feedback. People are messaging me, letting me know that this is helping them. So I'm definitely excited about what we're diving into tonight. It's one of the cornerstones of the relationship. You know, a lot of people don't talk about it, but we're talking about creating shared meaning and building a future with a purpose. You know, we're talking about shared goals. You know, me, I'm Joe Corley, licensed therapist. Today's conversation is all about the importance of aligning your values and setting goals together as a couple, and making sure that we don't just exist in the same space, but we're actually understanding what our plans are for each other, what our plans are individually, and building a meaningful life together. So I'm honored to be joined by my wife, Donna, who has joined me on 3 out of the 4 episodes of the series. Sick for the first one. But, we had our own journey, and I'm really happy to be vulnerable tonight and share some of that. A lot of this shared goal stuff was not really in our picture. I don't think we talked about those kind of things.
No, we did not.
In the beginning of our relationship. So, and Donna has probably had 2 or 3 W-2s in her life, where I might have 4 or 5 in a year. So that goes to tell you, like, we on different wavelengths. But also joining us tonight, man, I'm excited for Dr. Sekou Fraser. He's been on the show before. He's got some things coming up. He's always got some insights on, couples relationships, and he's worked with couples in the past. So he's a Black male therapist like myself. He's going to bring some of that emotional intelligence and communication to the show tonight. So thank you, brother, for joining us.
Thank you.
And, we're supposed to have 3 couples on tonight, but, only one showed up. So I'm definitely grateful for Stephen and Katie for showing up tonight. Y'all have been married all of 3 months?
Yes.
Okay. So, we're going to appreciate you guys' insight into, as you guys are starting to build you guys' life together. So I'm excited for y'all to be here. Thank y'all for being here.
Happy to be here.
I'm actually kind of surprised. Let me ask you, man, what made y'all join this conversation? What made you say yes? I was sure you were going to say no.
He was.
Being honest, I read your text. I was like, there was not much thought. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I asked Katie, she was like, cool. And, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I would just say, like, we want to make sure we're spreading God between, like, the relationship that we have. So if we can get that platform through Mr. Corley's podcast, then I think that's a great idea. So, I told Stephen, let's do it.
Okay. So, let me just say that I've known you both for a really long time, and Katie was actually in one of my classes, so that's why she's calling me Mr. Corley, y'all. If y'all, I used to be a teacher. I don't know if I told the audience that.
I'm just used to it.
No, that's cool. I like it. Yes, coach. Yeah, that's right. In the streets, that's what they call me. So I'm happy that y'all can join me tonight, man. Like I said, I'm very proud of y'all, and I'm excited to give y'all a platform to share some. So you know what I mean. Let's start with this, man. Let me ask you, Dr. Sekou, man. how important do you believe the alignment of goals is in the beginning of a relationship? And first, talk about what stages of couples come to see you in. Are they coming in the beginning? Do you get them later in life? Just kind of talk about some of your experience dealing with couples, and then add on about how important it is to align those goals.
Yeah, sure. I'll say most of the couples come and see me towards, I wouldn't want to say the end, because I believe in hope, that there's always hope to fix and heal your relationship. But it's during the times that are troubling, tumultuous times, they come see me, and they're working towards trying to get back in sync or being aligned. So to touch on one of the things that you're saying, how important is alignment? That's crucial. I consider that to be one of the cornerstones. That's the foundation of being able to build with your partners, that you have to have mutual goals. You don't necessarily have to think the same or be on the same thing with everything, but the overarching plan as far as for your life, your beliefs, the things that you want, the goals, you all must be aligned, and you must be working towards supporting each other and saving that space for one another. So alignment is key. That is definitely the foundation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see couples at all different stages as well. And the conversations that they have, a lot of the disagreements, I say, could have been avoided through communication, especially in the beginning. And I'm always coming back to the couples like, hey, when you met him or her, is this how they were? Or, I mean, did they lie to you or deceive you to get them to marry you? We just talked about openly how we didn't have that conversation in the beginning of our marriage, but knowing what you know now after 17 years of marriage, how important do you think having the conversation about shared values and goals is? Yeah.
It's extremely important, because that's like part of your base, and your base is, having those shared values, and that's for your strong base is what helps you make decisions around, like, how you raise kids,
For sure.
long-term, short-term goals, what's priority in your
Yeah.
household, in your marriage.
Yeah. I didn't even think about like having kids and stuff. Yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, we did that too. And I don't know. I don't feel like we got out of sync too much in that situation, but
Out of sync
with how our vision for raising children,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like that was kind of, for the most part, always in line.
Yeah.
But do you think that not talking about other things caused the necessary conflict over time?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because if we would have hashed out some of those things early on, we wouldn't be having some of these conversations 17 years later trying to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Katie, Stephen, I'm gonna ask you first, Katie. Have y'all had conversations about kind of what you guys' vision for your entire future are? I mean, I know it's a different day, so maybe I've had those conversations. Y'all taking unconventional paths. So
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we've had even before going into marriage, I think we both would sit down and talk about, hey, like where do we see ourselves, like when we want to have kids? Where do we see ourselves where we want to be within career wise? So I think all those important conversations before we went into marriage were had when we were dating, along like the 5 years of dating. That really has helped us to where we are now, because now being married is like, oh, well, I know we talked about it, so I know like that we aren't going to have kids right away, because that's something that we talked about. I feel like if we would have never had those conversations, then there would have probably been conflict, because there may be someone let's just say I wanted to have kids right away, right after marriage, and he didn't. Well, then that would have been conflict already. But we came to a mutual agreement that we wanted to enjoy our marriage for the first years of marriage. So yeah, having those conversations were definitely really important for us. And I think that our dating for 6 years helped us have all those conversations before getting to marriage.
Yeah, and I would just say this. Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like, like dating for that long a time, like you get into those conversations, like because of how long you've been together. So like where maybe we've been dating for 2 years, but we didn't have the conversation about kids once we're married. That conversation was having 2 years. Then something as sort of like, hey, what do you want with kids? That conversation comes up. And so it's just the same thing. So like we've been dating for 3 years, another important conversation comes up. 4 years, another important conversation comes up. So we've been together for so long where we had time to have these different conversations come up, where somebody that's said they courted her for a year or dated for 2 years, they don't have long enough time to have these conversations come up in their marriage because they didn't date for 5 or 6 years, like when ours came up. And alignment, I love how we talk about alignment, because one of the first times when we did start dating at the very beginning, I remember so vividly, we were only high schoolers, we were only juniors, but that second day after we started dating was kind of like we sat down at Penn Express. Was kind of like, we know this is going to be hard. We know it's not going to be easy, but we know we love God. We know we put him first, and that's what aligns us. So we just work hard at it. We'll get to where we ultimately want to be at. 6 years later, we're here. So those conversations, we had time to have those conversations before getting into marriage.
Man, that's incredible, man. I'm really impressed. And Dr. Sekou, what do you hear, man? What do you hear in that conversation?
Well, they said it best. I think y'all said it best. Y'all came together, y'all sat down and had a conversation, and things aligned. And whether things didn't align, y'all continue to have the conversation. And sometimes people don't continue the conversation, or they portray a certain image because, hey, I really like this person, or they have thoughts of changing another person. And y'all did the important things. Y'all were very much mature about it, I must say, sitting down at the Penn Express.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
What are some of the, Dr. Sekou, what are some of the things that, I have some thoughts on this as well, but what are some of the conversations that you think couples miss early in relationships that bring them into the office?
One of the biggest things I think is the core values. We all have our individual values, but what are some of the core values when you look at a relationship? And when you look at a relationship, the way that I view it is kind of like a baby. How do we want this baby to grow and develop? How are we going to nurture this relationship? Do we have any past traumas that we need to discuss? And a lot of times it's more of a physical attraction thing. We see someone, we like them, we get to dating, then there's more layers. We get to find out more and more, but that comes with time, and it comes with vulnerability. And a lot of times we're not getting the exact person until when everything hits the fan. And then that's another thing to see if we can weather that storm. So,
right. Yeah. And it's fluid, right? Like a lot of times in relationships, even if you do have the conversations, you don't revisit them. And sometimes, you held to the person that you were maybe 5-6 years ago when, you've evolved and your vision is different. Life has made you see things differently, and you're not that same human anymore. So now it's time to revisit what some of those core values are, and get some realignment, I should say. You know what I mean? Like the person I was when I was 26, 27, getting married is nowhere near the man I am today. But I don't want to feel like, sometimes in the past, not having evolved or not being emotionally mature, you kind of want to stick to the what you sold, what you advertised, and be afraid to go in there and say, look, I'm not really on this anymore. This is where I am. You know what I mean? We think about that. It sound like,
No, I agree.
yeah. Okay. So, it's good. To the core values thing, man, it's very important, not only for your growth as a couple, but for your emotional wellness as an individual. A lot of people don't understand what their core values are. So I like I said, I got some ideas of how to help people identify that, but I want to hear what you say, Dr. Sekou, real fast. What are some ways that you help people identify their core values?
Well, depending on the session or whatever the case is, I always start with a Venn diagram. A lot of times people might, we have a disagreement, and then I like to take it back to the basics. So I say, let's draw, the homework assignment will be, let's draw a Venn diagram. What are some of the core values that y'all share? Put everything in the middle. Oh, I share this, faith, this, that, hobbies, friends, whatever it is, you put it in the middle. Now, what are some of your individual core values? Do they align with your partner? Are they completely drastic from your partner? And we want to figure out what are the things that keeps this relationship going. And the core values should be the things that keeps it going. Also your differences, because you all don't need to be attached at the hip 24/7, because you were somebody before you met who you're with. But the core values, just really taking time to look at it on paper and discussing it as a homework assignment is extremely helpful, because then you really start talking to your partner like, well, I remember a few years ago, I was into this, or I was into that, or I viewed it like this, or I viewed it like that. Now, I don't see things that way based on certain experiences that we have, based on certain things we get exposed to. It changes the way we think about ourselves and our relationship. So I think that's really one of the most important things, for them to visually see something and then start thinking about it and focus on the things that they actively change in their relationship.
Right. And I'll say, to piggyback on that, when you're talking about yourself as an individual, one of the most important things, or some of the most important things to process, are like, what makes you extremely joyful, what makes you happy, what makes you angry, what makes you sad. And these are kind of like little indicators and roadmaps to whatever your core values are, because your core values are going to be shaped by those emotions, what what your lived experience is, who are people that you look at as heroes, who do you look at as the villains in your life. All these things are kind of indicators of what your core values are. Well, but back to Stephen and Katie for a second. I wanted to ask you guys, what are, like, you're coming together, you haven't really had your first full year of marriage yet, but y'all spent a lot of time together over the past 6 years. Do y'all have to like merge some of your family traditions, or are you just setting out to like create your own?
That's a
Great
great
question.
I'll say at the beginning. I'll say at the beginning of our, like, I'll say middle of our relationship. I'm obviously not marriage, but relationship. There was like one common thing we kept running into, having a issue with, and it was so much so, like, because I'm a big family man. Like, I'm just a huge family guy, and now marrying Katie, like, now the dynamic shifts, because now, instead of like, it's not putting my family, my mom, dad, it's not putting them off to the side, but it's like putting my wife first now, because it's the one I married. But dating wise, before marriage, we kept running into an issue where I had struggled balancing my time with my family and taking time away from Katie to give to them, if that makes sense. So that was something we kept like hitting a roadblock with, where we were having this recurring thing to where, like, I'm like, hey, I got to run and do this, where it wasn't even in the plans, but it was for my family. And it was kind of like that thing to where she just had to tell me, hey, you're overstretching yourself. Like, you gotta relax and get you, at least if it takes time to relax and take time for yourself, because you can't be overstretching yourself. And I guess to your point, like the family traditions, like now, since it's changed, since we are married, it's kind of like we value our family in the same ways, to where like the traditions we do have, we're taking bits and pieces of those to where like we value our family time. Like, we will go over to Katie's house, maybe Katie's family's on Saturdays, or if they're having a birthday party or something, we value that time. We go to my family's house every Sunday, and they come to us every Sunday. So it's kind of like, it's like navigating that. Like, we do have our family's traditions that we do want to follow. For Christmas Eve, we go over her family's house. Christmas Day, we go over my family's house. For now, like, those are traditions like we already established, and we're continuing with them. But to answer your question, when we do have kids, when we do have our kids, like we want to establish our own family traditions, like when to put up the Christmas tree, when to have Thanksgiving, like how to cultivate that where it's uniquely ours, but we're still balancing that time with our own families, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes perfect sense, man. It's a great question. He's ready to answer it, though, huh? You never know. You never know, brother. You never know. I want to shift the conversation to a very important part of relationships, and that's vulnerability. I think a lot of people that you come across in couples counseling struggle with being vulnerable with their partners for whatever reason. They don't want to disappoint them, or they just don't feel safe. They don't want to cause conflict, so they don't feel safe saying certain things. Have you ever, Donna, struggled being vulnerable about some of your future goals? And if so, like, what made it hard for you to be like, this is what I want to do?
Definitely. It's, I don't know, it kind of goes back to things that we've dealt with over the last several years, and having, struggles with dreaming, seeing past certain things. So it makes it harder for me to want to be vulnerable, because you're like, oh, you want that? Go get it. Like you're rah. Whereas I'm a dreamer. Like, huh?
I'm a dreamer.
Yeah, you're a dreamer. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just struggling with that. That's something I'm personally struggling with. So it's like, it makes it hard to come to you and be vulnerable and not get the cheer, like the let's go do it, and just have a calm talk, or just hear me out, or
So it'd probably be better if I was like, no, that shit sounds stupid. Don't do that.
No, I'm definitely not
Don't do
saying
that.
I'm just saying that it's there's times where it's hard to come to you and be very vulnerable in expressing things, like things that are on my mind, things I might want to do or don't want to do, because I think you not tooting my horn, but I think you think I can do it all. And there's just times where
I do,
where I just need something else.
Well, that's interesting, man. I don't want to respond to that, man. Dr. Seiko, I'll let you have that, man. What are you hearing that, brother?
Like, as far as that comment, or when it revolves around, or
what about that comment? First, let me make sure what I'm hearing you say is that when you bring something to the table that's an idea, or maybe something you want to do, I'm always like, yeah, let's do that, go get it. And that sometimes makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yes, because you're very, pedal to the metal, like, let's go, like, and you almost become a nuisance. Yeah. You ride me about it.
Hey, made them candles yet?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So it's like you're supporting me, but then you're kind of becoming overbearing. And it just is like, I can't.
Okay. I've actually never heard her say that before. So, I mean, we in a couch now, Dr. Seiko. What you got to say to us, brother?
Well, it's my 2 cents, and that is just communication, just simple and plain. It's like, what I'm hearing and seeing is that Joe, the way that Joe views you, Donna, is, my woman can do anything. She's amazing. So as soon as he hears something, he's so excited. He's so excited. I can just imagine him just, all right, cool. So what else we need? Let's check this off. And he's backing you all the way. But maybe when it comes to your thought process of whatever you're doing, yeah, I want to do it, but you're still taking that time to get all the details out. And you're not just ready to just put the pedal to the metal. What you're doing is still, I know I can do it, but I need to get all my details together. And so now just kind of hearing that, it's like, okay, I could see how you could probably feel like, it's a little annoying, because you should know your man's going to support you. And that is the beauty of having a wonderful, good man that's going to support you. But then you also have to tell him exactly what you need. This is not a fully developed idea. It almost is. But when I'm ready for you to hit that gas button, I'm going to let you know, sir. And that's where that communication piece is going to play.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. And being fully transparent, being vulnerable right now, a part of that push, maybe, birth out of a little bit of I don't know, gift, because I've watched you hold space for so many different people. And like, I be kind of needing and wanting you to do something for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And a part of me is like, man, if she can do something for herself, maybe I can feel a little less guilty about all the stuff she does for the rest of us. You know, you know what I mean? And that's not necessarily healthy. But it may be part of why, like, I'll be pushing a little too much, but I hear you.
That makes sense.
No, I hear you, and I'll ease up. I'll ease up for sure. I don't know what is listening to that doing for y'all, Stephen, Katie.
I would just say, like, sometimes being vulnerable can come very hard for some, and then for others they may be like, no, I'm really gonna like just rant to you, and it may come easier. So I just feel like it depends on whatever you may be going through at the time, whether that is a hard day at work and you just don't necessarily want to talk about it when your husband gets home and you don't want to bring it up to him, but then again, that's bothering you, so you eventually have to get it out. I would say just ultimately being vulnerable with whoever you're with, it needs to be very important, just because if you don't, you end up like probably even lashing out on that person or bringing out the frustrations on the person that's not necessarily doing anything to you, but there's always like something that may be bothering you, and you just have to be vulnerable about it to bring it up to your spouse.
You think you'd be vulnerable with you?
Yeah, I do think I can be vulnerable with you, but I think sometimes it can be a little bit hard just because I don't ever want to put more on his plate. But he always has to remind me, like, you are my wife. You need to tell me exactly how you're feeling. No need to hold it in. But I just feel like certain things is just like, for instance, like having hard days at work. That can be like something, like I just said, I don't simply want to talk about it because I'm at home now, so I don't want to bring it home. And so that can be something that I don't want to be vulnerable at the time. But then if I keep it with me for 2 or 3 days, then he ends up knowing like, hey, there's something going on. So like, come on, let's talk about it. And so that's where I learned that I need to be vulnerable. I can't keep it all to myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think being vulnerable, at least like to Katie, is very like easy to me, I guess, because I know what I'm going to get. It's kind of like when I am vulnerable, I know I'm going to get like reality. Like I know I'm going to get something real. Like for instance, like this week I told her I was going to sign up for a hobby, and she was like, what you mean? You haven't done anything like that in your life. And I'm like, but like, you think I can do it? And she's like, do what you want, but like, I don't think it's a good idea. So it's like, it's just being, but like, that doesn't steer me away because I know what I'm getting when I come to her. Just as if it's something to where my days of having a hard day and I know I'm going to get advice from her. Or if I just want to lay something on her, I know I'm just going to get a listening ear. So it's kind of like, I know what I'm bringing and I know what I'm going to get. So it's kind of like when she does give me her reply, nothing really throws me off. So I'm like, that's the woman I married. So it's I think it's
nice, man.
And it just comes out of me. It's not that I don't believe he can do. It's like you. I believe he can do anything he wants to do. It just comes out of me being like, man, if he gets hurt, then we might end up in the hospital. Or if he gets hurt, then this, like, it's already happened before. We go work out. He almost lost a finger. We ended up in the emergency room. So it kind of comes out of like, I guess, past trauma of him getting hurt, because he's always doing something. Steven is a guy, he's always doing something, so he can't ever not just nap, just take a nap, just chill out. He can't do it. He's always doing it on, he's always doing something. So yeah, so that's
nap. Just take a nap. It's crazy. So you try to
no naps for him.
You try to take up archery, and she was like, I don't speed walking, whatever.
The activity we're currently talking about is kickboxing. That's the activity we're currently talking about.
Yeah, that's right up your alley, man. It sounds like something you need to do, man.
And she's like, what do you mean? Like hurt, boxing, face? No, like it's just, but I know I'm getting. It's like, okay, I know you were gonna say that. I'm just asking.
I just said like, isn't the gym enough? We go to the gym. Yeah. You know? But
no.
Well, I mean, this is important though. I mean, we should talk about the reverse of this. You know what I mean? I know you probably have some experience with this. Like, how do you create or be vulnerable with your partner about them doing too much? You know, like, without making them feel like you don't believe in them. Is that something you have struggled with balancing?
Yeah. Definitely, because you are somebody who at one point in time were coaching what? 8 to 10 teams at once.
Same time, yeah.
And and you're, you know, and you're doing side training and you're working a full-time job teaching. So it's like you're doing way too much. And
Yeah.
it was really hard to tell you you're doing too much. Take a nap.
Yeah. That sounds nuts now. Take a nap. Yeah.
Oh no.
Go to bed, take a nap.
Take a nap. That
I
sounds
mean,
nuts.
because you
Listen to it now.
did, you know, like thinking back to those times, I really do think that you felt me saying you're doing too much.
Yeah.
You took that as I didn't have any faith in you. Like you just
It definitely shut me down for sure.
like
Yeah.
like I just didn't support you.
Like, yeah, you don't think I can do it? Yeah.
Right.
I'm the best
Right.
coach ever. Yeah. Yeah, no.
But you, I mean, you really did. I feel like you felt as though I didn't support you and I didn't believe that you could do it.
No, for sure.
And
But
that was not the case. It was the case, but you know, it was more so me knowing you were doing too much.
yeah. In hindsight, I see that now. You know, man. But at the time, I definitely was like, "Nah, you either get down or lay down. We got we got a lot of coaching to do." And I had
Kids
no
need you.
the kids needed me. I mean, I was stretching myself super thin. It was really bad, and it really impacted my mental health in a major way.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I
did.
mean? It forced me into like a deeper depression because whenever I felt like I was not there for the kids in the way that I should have been, I took those failures personal.
Mhm.
And but you saw it, and I didn't listen to you. You know what I mean? So that was not a conversation that we had. Like we never sat down and like, hey, can I talk to you?
Right. No,
You know what I mean?
we never
And-
sat down.
Yeah, it probably would have saved me a lot of grief, if I was in a space where I could listen. But chat, man, talk to me, chat. I mean, it's a couple hundred of y'all out there right now, and only Tranisha's in here, and she's supposed to be doing homework. So we need y'all to get in here and get active, man. Talk to me about do y'all have issues with vulnerability, man? Post it in the chat. Let us know some of the ways that y'all are creating safe spaces for your partners to be vulnerable. I'd like to hear that from y'all. But yeah, having those vulnerable conversations and like creating space to creating space where y'all can be safe with one another. Dr. Sekou, let me ask you, man, like what are ways that people can create safe spaces for their partners to be vulnerable?
I think one of the biggest things that people can do is set aside some time. A lot of times life just gets busy, and then we just, we're doing this, kids, family, work, all kind of stuff. But we need to set aside some time to have like a weekly check-in, to be vulnerable, to sit and say, are you okay? Because a lot of times someone asks you if you're okay, you're just like, yeah, but you're not really going to say like, nah, man, I got some stuff going on. My car's about to get repoed, right? So especially when you're with somebody, you all already have like some layers that are removed where y'all can be naked and vulnerable. But in order to grow your relationship, you have to be very intentional. So I see like couples that they forget to date each other because now they have kids, So people fall into routines, but you need to carve out that time to do these check-ins, to really sit and talk about where is this relationship going? How do we feel that we're going? You have to, in a sense, you run your relationship like a business. So I don't mean to sound callous, but it's a business. Like, what are our goals for this year? How are we doing? Are we improving in the way that we communicate? Are we spending time together with family, friends? Are we doing these things? So it's really about just carving out time to be intentional and just opening up more and going deeper. So
Yeah.
that's one of the suggestions I have.
Man, so important. And that's something I say all the time to people too. Like I advise people, and they look at me when I'm crazy when I first say it, but they always come back and say this is effective, is you set appointments. You know what I mean? Like you literally got to set appointments with your partner at times, because sometimes you might want to talk about something that they're not in the mood to hear. So your reaction to what they're trying to tell you comes back poor. And now you guys are in conflict when it really ain't about, anything that y'all have with each other. So, hey, listen, I got to talk to you. When are you available? You know what I mean? Like, it may not be right then and there. You might have something on your mind. I mean, that's only if you like guys struggle with what Dr. Sekou was saying, carving out time to hold space. Set that appointment, man, and then that's your opportunity to just listen. So your only reactions should be almost clarifying questions, repeating what your partner is saying, making sure you understand exactly what they're trying to communicate, and then see if, are they talking? People talk for two reasons. You're either trying to vent or you're trying to solve a problem. So which reason is your partner communicating with you right now? Are they trying to vent or are they trying to solve a problem? So, because sometimes I'm just trying to vent and you might, you be a problem solver. You're trying to solve my problem. I ain't want to hear that. I don't want to know how to fix it. Okay. I just want to be mad about it. All right. Just let it, and vice versa. I might do the same thing, right? Sometimes I don't, you don't want my solution. You just want to, you know what I mean?
Get it off your chest.
So
I
just want to get
we can touch on that topic because that's happened before to where like she will, well, I'm taking it as you got a problem. Let me solve it.
Mm-hmm.
And just be honest, she goes, I'm not looking for a solution. And I'm over giving her solutions to her problem she's telling me, but she's like, no, I just want you, sometimes you just need to just listen. And it's like we ran into that too, to where like, I mean, I think the last time that happened was like a year ago. But like now, it wasn't like that before though. It wasn't like before. I wasn't like, oh, I understand which one this is. Now I'm like, I understand which one this is. Like before, it was kind of like, oh, they all sound the same to me. Like I can be a problem solver. Like that's why I'm here. But it's like, no, like this is time for me to rant. Let me rant. If I have an issue, you will understand. Now we're on that base to where I'm like, okay, now let me give my 2 cents. Or
100%, man. 100%. I have that same issue with you, Stephen. Every time I talk to you, you try to solve my problems as well.
Hey, we're problem solvers.
I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I didn't ask you that, man. I just it's all good, man. Question for y'all though, from the chat. What dreams do you have for your partner for your future together? It's a good question.
Okay.
What dreams do you have for your partner?
I mean, do you have when you look at him or look at her?
Yes.
Do you have visions
I would say for Stephen, I see Stephen just having his ministry where he is speaking about Jesus to people, whether that is being a pastor, whether that is being someone that's just going out in missions, or I just see him in one way or another. It's just going to be God, and it's going to be him spreading God's word to multiple people. And I see it in him. I see the fire of God literally. For every Wednesday we serve at youth. He never fails, no matter how much homework he has, no matter if he's been at work all day. He is always there to serve his boys and be there to minister to those boys that need to hear the word of God, because we all know that it is just so, especially for people that are out and working in the education field, that these kids desperately need to be heard. These kids need to know that there's someone or like a mentor that's there to hear them out and say, hey, you can do this, whatever you want to do in life, you can do this. And so anyways, I overall just see him preaching God's word. So,
and I appreciate that. And I'll say, as for her, I just see her in like 10, 15 years where like we are financially stable enough to where she's at home and she's running around with our 4 kids. Like we've talked about that so much to where like that's one of the, hey, sorry, vulnerable. But no, like that's just something she's talked about. That's something we've talked about. It's kind of like that'll just be me coming home from a long day and just seeing her happy with the kids, just that's like, that'll be like, there's a definition of rich, that'll be rich. And that's just something we've talked about, like, and that's something she wants, that's something I want for her. So that's just how God has that for us.
Oh man, that's amazing, y'all. I'm it seems like y'all have had a lot more conversations than less emotionally mature people that I know I get in my office, and I'm sure
Right.
Dr. Siegel can say that as well. I mean, you see, it
Yeah.
never ceases to amaze me what people come in that office with for problems.
I kind of feel like your last, like doing this month, I feel like your younger couples are just so wise, so stable, so just
well, it's a
just
different
there.
generation, you know what I mean? Like it's coming from, like they seek, a lot of them seek emotional maturity in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And they don't want to repeat. A lot of it comes from, not wanting to repeat the failures that you observed.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, see me, you and me both, we never really had marriages to look at, be like, well, we don't want to do that, that, and that, you know what I mean?
Right.
So we just kind of learning on the fly. I never had a man sit me down and tell me this is, the foundations of being a husband. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if Stephen's had that either, but I know he's had some examples in his life that, probably have guided a lot of his decisions in the way that he approaches his marriage, for sure.
I agree.
You know what I mean? What about you though? What are your dreams for your partner?
My dreams for you is to have peace,
yes,
and happiness. Like I want you to be fulfilled, like get to where what you want, what Joe wants, but definitely peace.
Yeah,
because you are not at peace.
Yeah, no, of course not. Thank you. I'm glad you observed that. I really feel seen in this moment.
Oh, you're welcome.
And the same, I mean, I want peace for my wife as well, but honestly want to be able to look at my wife and say she's doing exactly what she wants to do. And I don't feel like I've ever got an opportunity to see, I tell you all the time how proud I am that, you basically built yourself from, I want to say almost scratch. You know what I mean? If you've done very well for yourself, and you show yourself as vital to our family all the time. And I just watch you expend so much of your energy to build other people's dreams and, build our dreams, me and the boys. And I just want to be able to look at you and say, she did that for herself. And, and you took the time to do that. Like, that's my vision for your future. When I see that and I feel that, I think I'll have a little bit more of that peace, because a lot of my peace or lack of peace comes from, you're not being able to do what you want to do at all times. So
that's fair. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, we just being vulnerable as hell out here tonight, ain't we?
Yep.
Came on the right show.
Talking that talk, man. But I know for our lives, we've had several unpredictable pivots that we've had to make. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, I want to, I guess, talk about what do we do when, we have to make pivots, unpredictable things that occur in our lives that change maybe the vision or the, the alignment of goals, like Dr. Sekou, man, do you feel like you're dealing with couples who, have you seen couples self-destruct over a realignment of the vision?
I would
not
say,
being able to communicate about it.
Yeah, I would say, because I've been working with, I've had some couples in the past 6 months where folks are filing for divorce. People are just tired. People have been together for over like 20 something years, and people grow and evolve into two different people. But one of the problems is that the communication piece was not there throughout the relationship, or someone was making concessions to please someone else, and then they decreased their space for themselves, and then that grew into resentment. So now when certain things change, or this is who I am, or I want to go this way, the other person's not really feeling that. So sometimes with that, it's a little bit more challenging because depending how much resentment is built and depends what the core values are. If someone says, I plan to marry you for sickness and health, for better or worse, if those are our core values, then we'll figure it out. But if that's not the base of where that comes from, I'm tired of this. I'll just take.
I ain't signing up for this shit. I ain't signing up for this.
Exactly. And so for a lot of folks, it's to change and pivot in another direction depends on a lot of different things. And it's more selfishness than selflessness. So those are the things that we have to examine and figure out. Is it putting myself first or over my marriage? Is that worth it for me at the end of the day? And for some people it is. They're just like, look, I feel I'll do better. But I tell people there's a house, there's a couch, there's a porch, there's a sidewalk, and there's the streets. And them streets are pretty mean out there. There's a lot of stuff going on. So if you can take that time to figure out in-house what we need to do to get back aligned, things will just take time, but both parties have to want to get back in alignment. It's just like a vehicle. You can't drive a car for 20 years and never change the oil and do different things to it because it's going to eventually fall apart. So you got to be very intentional with your relationship and treat it like that baby, if that's what you all consider it to be, that baby that's going to grow and flourish and mature.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. I hope everybody out there, is taking that in. Relationships are fluid, like we got to work to stay together. Okay.
Like that's where we're at. Like you have to, like we're kind of in a realignment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then we talking about 17 years in, you're 17, like, oh man, we got to realign. I mean, even like there's a lot of people don't talk about, yes, there's a realignment that occurs when you have kids, but there's also a realignment that occurs when they get grown.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Especially
what I mean?
if you poured everything, all your time into them.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean, and that's another conversation that probably a lot of older couples aren't having is, what it's like when you have to shift your everyday. Now it's just, we have to focus more on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was very easy for two people to focus on these other two people, but when they start needing you less and less, how do you feel that time?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so, and hey, I'm not gonna lie, we be out to eat, and I just want to feed us. Okay, damn them kids. Donna's calling the house, making sure our man, I don't want to call him our son or our boy, making sure our man has he eaten, our other little man. Yeah, and he'll tell you too. I'm still a child. He'll tell you. So yeah, he'll be honest with you. Oh, we forgot, bro. You're still a child. We do got to feed you still. Still responsible for you for two more years. But like just that little stuff like there. Like I'm moving or migrating to a stage in my life where I don't want to worry about the kids as much. And I don't think I don't know.
I don't know how not to.
Yeah, right. Now she doesn't know how, and that's a conversation, right? That's a conversation. Like, I'm not trying to worry about these kids all day anymore. Like, we've done it, right?
Yes,
we did it. They're, one of them's a functioning, well-adjusted adult for the most part. Okay. For the most part. Okay. But the other one's crazy, but we're still working on them. So I mean that's my bad, y'all. My bad, chat. Sidebar for y'all, man. I didn't mean to take y'all. Right. So we have a 23-year-old and a 15, about to be 16-year-old this year, and I think that is an important conversation when you're talking about visions and alignments. I think a lot of it has to do with
exactly, Mike.
Yeah, what is Mike talking about? Our visions are. Yeah, right. Mike is the one, and I keep giving him credit as often as I can. He's the one that put me onto that conversation. He's the one that kind of made me think about, wow, well, we have to adjust because we spent several years every weekend focused on our son. And then when that stopped, it kind of like it really did. It really felt it like, damn, what do we do now?
Mhm.
You know? So just a conversation to be had. But I want to know kind of, what do y'all see as y'all been together 6 years, but y'all been married and living together for like 3 months, right?
Mhm.
So was there any adjustments to moving in together and like seeing this person every single day? Damn,
Oh, whoa.
shaking that head heavy, man. Talk about it.
Yes.
It's funny
Go ahead.
because I think I moved in here by myself a week before the wedding.
No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
before.
2 weeks before the wedding. So
Mhm.
we always joke about this because when I was with my parents, she would come over every Sunday, clothes be on the floor, they would be clean, they wouldn't be folded, it'd be a mess. Miss Donna knows what we're saying. So,
Yes.
but the thing is, I told her when we live together, I know this isn't gonna fly. I know how you get. I just won't happen anymore. So, 2 weeks by myself, I've never made my own. It's been 5 times I made my own bed. 2 weeks by myself, I would make the bed, put my clothes where they need to go, fold them, wash by myself. 2 weeks because I know when she got into this home, the expectation was put your clothes up. We're gonna make the bed. We're gonna wash the dishes. So in my mind, I'm like, in order to make this place our home, not mine, I'm going to do what her expectations are. And it's just, and then I have trust in my heart that where my clothes go, she's gonna handle them the same way. Because in actuality, I don't want my clothes on the floor. I was just tired. And it's like, it's kind of like you don't think about those things, how much more comfortable the home is with those things in place until you're living with somebody else. It's a bigger space and it's your stuff that's getting put away nicely. And it's kind of like, if she can do that at her home, I can do that in our home. So I would say the adjusting part becomes, though, how do you make that routine? So it's kind of like, how do you not just do that for 2 weeks? How do you do that for like 10 years? Like, how do you don't do that for 2 years? How do you do it for 5? So it's kind of like when that does get out of rhythm, it's kind of like I have to remind myself, like, hey, like, don't, just because she's here now, it's been 3 months, you can't get lackadaisical, can't get comfortable because those are sort of the expectations. So it's kind of like, I mean, that was one of the biggest like learning curves, being like, okay, now we had to tighten up a little bit more. And it's kind of like knowing that this is our home. Like, I don't want it to be like, I don't want it ever to be like, because the way you're acting with this home, it's your home, I'm just a person living here. That wasn't the expectation. The expectation was, how do I make this home comfortable for you? If this is how you see it comfortable, I'm fine with that. And that's just kind of like what I've always been like in our relationship. It's kind of like, what do you want? I can make it happen, And what you can speak on that.
Well, I was just gonna say he's doing a great job, but I just think growing up, it's always been the expectation of clean or you don't get to go out with friends. Clean or you don't get to do this. So it's always been like, that's how I grew up. That was one of my family dynamics that I grew up with. So for me, ever since I was little, I've always been very organized. Everything is put into place. Everything is either hanged or folded, but like everything is just clean for me. And I just feel like having a clean and good smelling spot is just, I don't know, it does something to your mind where you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I don't have to do this when I get back from work, or, oh, hey, I don't have to do this when I get back from school. So it's like, I don't know, having everything organized has always just been a priority for me. And whenever it's not organized, you can really see where your headspace is at. Either you're stressed out or you got other stuff that you need to get done. But he's doing a great job at that. So I'm very thankful for that.
And it's not something I'm not going to say like I'm a pro at doing that. Like, there's still times where I come home, like the shoes are kicked off in the middle of the floor. And it's like, bro, what are these shoes doing here? It's like, oh, my bad. Put them away. So it's kind of like, I'm still learning this, but like there's grace that comes with that. That like the ultimate, like, you've done this many times. You've done this more right than wrong. So I know it's going to get done. You just have to make it routine. But like, that's been one of the, probably the biggest learning curve.
And then the thing that I like most is like, whenever I'm really tired and I'm just going to bed at 10 o'clock, he'll put away the food. He'll take care of it. He'll take care of washing the dishes, and I don't have to worry about it. Or if he goes to sleep earlier and there's stuff that still needs to get done before we go to bed, I take care of it. So I like that there's that half and half, like we pick up each other's slacks, or it's just things are getting done regardless. So they're getting done, and I'm just thankful for that.
Balance is important.
Oh, extremely important.
Yeah, balance is important. Sound like you should have did a better job training me.
There's no hope.
I got 2 or 3 pairs of shoes in the middle of the floor right now.
Every day I say something. If it's not a hat, it's a pair of shoes.
Yeah, that's bad. I'm more conscious of it now, but I'm not doing a great job of taking care of it. But I need to. I'm inspired now by young Steven.
You can't let him beat you.
Well, not by, it's not a competition. It's not a
Every
competition.
day's a competition.
It's not a competition. It's not a competition. He's been cleaning his drawers for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, he's husband of the year.
I knew that was gonna come up. I knew it.
All of a sudden, he's husband of the year. Huh? Okay. All right. I get it. Listen, man. Look. That balance is important, Dr. Sekou, man. I don't know if you got this event coming up, man. Is that something you're gonna be touching on? That balance that they talking about right there?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about balance, about vulnerability, pretty much all of the things, because there's a lot of challenges that folks face on just getting on the right track to have successful relationships. And there's certain tools you need to have. As I said, it's like you can't expect someone to build a house and they don't have a hammer or nails. So a lot of people sometimes don't have the right tools, or they do, but they don't know how to use the tool. And so that's going to be the focus for tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, we about to close this thing out, man. We got a couple hundred people here tonight, and really appreciate everybody joining us. We got a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, now is the time to ask them. I'm about to hand it over one more time to Katie and Steven to talk to your generation, young people that are getting together, getting married young, right? You guys got married virtually, almost right out of high school, basically while you're still in college. A lot of people aren't doing that. Actually, maybe more people are doing it now than ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know I wasn't ready or prepared to do that. I wasn't ready to get married when I got married, but I did it. So talk about, what advice y'all have as far as setting future goals and having conversations either prior to getting married or actually prior to getting married, because y'all had them prior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And talk about how important you think that is to do that before y'all decide to embark on this lifetime journey together.
You want me to go first? No, yeah, it's extremely important. So looking at the landscape of the world today, like young people, like, bro, we just don't know what we want. Like, there's so many things you can do in this world that I'm a victim. I mean, I do this too. Like, I can't put my mind on one thing half the time. But it's in that I feel like that like goes into relationships, because like when you are in a relationship and a marriage, this is one person. This is one thing. And this is doing it together. So it's kind of like if our generation, if I'm just talking directly to them, it's kind of like we need to communicate, and you have to have your life aligned. Because if you don't sit down with somebody and be like, what are your values? Values rarely change. Like, values are very hard to change. So you don't sit down with somebody and be like, what are your values? You're not going to know what they want in life, because even though like we were juniors when we sat down and had that conversation, I knew what our values were. I knew she was going to change, but I knew her values stayed the same. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, if I know that about you, if I know like what you value the most, we'll be good. We'll ride this out, because we're going to grow. We're going to have spend years together. So you're going to change, but your value's going to stay the same. And like for us, value is God. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think a relationship works if God's not in the middle. And I talk to Katie about this all the time, because there has to be a mediator in your relationship. Our mediator is God. That's who we go to. So you can go to friends, family members. You can't put one of those people in between your relationship to mediate it. That's not going to work. You can put God in the middle of your relationship, and he'll mediate it. He'll make it one. He'll put it right back on the right track. Because when we have an issue, obviously there's friends to go to. Well, we going to pray about it. We going to read scripture about it. If she's stressed about something, did you talk to God about it? If I'm stressed about something, did you pray about it? There's always a common denominator and a common mediator, and that's the Lord. Like, I don't think no relationship works without that. And it's funny because like relationships that work without the Lord, like there's still that love in that relationship, and God is love. So, and that's just what I like to say to our generation. Like, half the things in this life, they don't work without the Lord. What did you guys say?
I would just say to them, like, really truly put God in the center of your relationship, and you see how all of God's gifts, whether that is peace, love, joy, all of those things, favor, all of those things will work in your relationship as long as you and your partner know that God is your foundation. He is going to help y'all out through everything. That's not to say that, like, when you're going through troubles, it's not going to be tough. It is. It's going to be tough, but it takes two to say, hey, we're going to get over it. We're not going to stay here stopped at it just because this was the problem and it seemed really big at that point. No, it's about growing together. It's about giving that grace. It's about serving each other. It's about not being selfish, like we talked about in this podcast, because at some point it's no longer just about you. It's about that one. It's that covenant that you make with that person. So it's important to make sure you know your values, like Stephen was saying. You know what you want in your relationship. You know that you're going to treat your spouse like you want your spouse to treat you. So it's just very, very important to understand how amazing it is to have God in your relationship, because without God, we are crazy people. Without God, we are people that do not give grace to our spouses. Without God, we are people that just don't have that peace in our minds that he provides us with to be our best selves, to not only our spouse, but to everyone out there. So yeah, God is just should be the center of it all.
Yeah, they're
All right. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be all right. I'm kind of mad now. I took the under on your relationship. Now I got to go back and try to realign my bet.
You bet.
Dom. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding, man.
I hope you know he's kidding.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he knows. Dom ain't listening no way, man. He don't ever pay attention. Dr. Sekou, man, I want to give you an opportunity to give your closing thoughts on this topic and also promote. You got something coming up, man. The Love Clinic. And we're getting about an opportunity to hear you talk about what you plan to bring to this situation, especially those. I think you can join. Can you join virtually this thing, or is it only in person?
You are able to join virtually as well. Number one, once again, thank you, Joe, for having me here. It gives me a chance to speak up because we've talked a little bit before. I tend to be hidden in the shadow and stuff like that. So I do.
Man. Come on out, brother. Come on out.
Thank you. So my closing remarks is, at the end of the day, in order to have that strong anchor that you need, we have to be extremely open and honest with our partners. We have to be vulnerable because this strengthens that emotional connection that is needed. And the more open you are with your partner, you start to get more things out of that person. And it's important to listen to understand and not always listen to respond. And don't respond out of emotion, but just really just sit and think. When you think of your partner, think that your partner has the best intention for you. Not that they did this on purpose just to get on your nerves, even though it may appear to be. But we want to think the best of our partner because we chose them, or they chose us, or we chose each other for a reason. And we need to get back to that simple, pure foundation. So tomorrow I'll be talking a lot about relationships at the African American Arts Museum in South Dallas. I'll talk about some of the challenges that a lot of folks face. So if y'all are available, come out. Starts at 6:30. Doing this event with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So most definitely, please spread the word. Any relationship tips and advice, I'm here. My name is Dr. Sekou Fraser. You can find me on TikTok. You can also find me on Instagram as well. So thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Hey, bro. Is this free? This Love Clinic?
Free. It's free. It is 100%
say the
free.
magic word.
Free from
Got-
6:30 to 8. Come, show up,
Yeah.
chill out, let's work on these relationships. All we need is
Yes.
love. All right.
All we need is love, man.
I like that.
That's it. Simple
Love
as
is
that.
all we need, as
All right.
Sister Mary would say.
Okay.
Sister Mary J. Blige would say.
Okay.
Not the Mary y'all was thinking about, huh, Stephen? Well, no. No, that's all good.
On that note,
No. Well, listen. What is your advice after 17 years of marriage?
Yeah.
We're talking about creating shared meaning and future goals. What have you learned over time, or what are some things that you wish you had known in the beginning that you want to share with people?
That it's okay to be 100% vulnerable, that as time goes on, realignment does need to happen, and communication. I wish I would have had a better communication foundation, because we did not. We're still working on that.
Mhm.
17 years in.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, is that it?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, you're done?
Yeah, go ahead. What were you saying?
Okay. No, I was going to say exactly what you said. Only, what Dr. Sekou says is what he just said was one of the major foundations of me understanding. I can speak for myself, of me understanding that even in hard times, my partner wants the best for me.
Right.
Right. So, and I had to learn that, like over time, like you just got to recognize that any fighting that we do is largely illogical.
Mhm.
Because we should be able to talk about whatever it is. I always communicate to the couples that I see, listen, we may disagree on the play, but we both want to score.
Right.
Mhm.
So you might want to throw it, I might want to run it, but we
Mhm.
both have the same goals, and we can have a conversation about what's best for both of us and try to find a compromise in between there. But at the end of the day, like Dr. Sekou said, man, as partners, we want the best for each other. And if you've chosen someone to do life with, then remind yourself as often as you have to, especially when you're upset, that logically this person wants the best for you and you chose them for a reason.
Mhm.
Right. So, go through your emotions and then have conversations about what it is that you need. Most times what you're arguing about is not about, what you think it is.
Right.
You're not arguing
It's not about
because
you at times as well.
Yeah,
like taking
right.
it personal. Like it
Oh
has
my
nothing to
God.
do with you.
Yeah. I want to leave that for sure with, and as we're closing out this whole series on relationships, I really hope that people found this whole thing really useful and got some good information. But yes, we don't want you out there taking things personal. All right. We don't want you speaking to each other, saying through criticisms, you know what I mean? Just lay the foundation and make it normalize just saying how you feel, because I cannot argue with your feelings. Right.
Mhm.
If it's something makes you feel sad or something makes you feel disregarded or disrespected in any way, I can't argue with the fact that you feel that way by telling you you shouldn't feel that way. No, my question is, why do you feel that way? What have I done, or what is it that you need to feel differently? You know what I mean? And I give you a space to articulate that, without us, blowing up. Now, that's not to say that, after 17 years, we don't have blow ups. You know what I mean? Like, we have them.
Mhm.
But as time has gone on, it's become, we just move past stuff. You know what I mean? Or we recognize, or we sit in it for a second and we're kind of like, all right, this is crazy. I can't forward these TikToks to nobody. I can't, because I'm sitting over here mad, and the next thing I know, I'm in the other room waiting on Steven to reply to the TikTok that I sent, and he takes 3 days minimum to reply to a text. So yeah,
My bad.
shots fired. Yeah, that's your bad. So you know what I mean. So I hope that's what I got, y'all. Like I said, man, please reach out to me or Dr. Sekou or whatever therapist I bring on this platform at realuconsulting.com. Set up a free consultation, and let's start having conversations that keep y'all together, because some of y'all are getting out of these relationships and it don't have to be that way.
Right.
You know, you just have to learn how to talk to each other. And you may find out that y'all not for each other. That may be a thing, but at least y'all can get rid of each other, you know. I can't say the word.
Amicably.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say the word, man. But it's important, man, because you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we want peace, as much peace. Together, not together, we all need each other in these situations. So that's all I got for y'all tonight, man. I really appreciate y'all joining me. Hey, join me next week. We're gonna be having some conversation that applies to black men about something. I don't know what it is yet, because I have my whole focus on this 4-part series. And don't forget to go down again, just to remind y'all, to the African American he's at Museum of Arts, and see Dr. Sekou in this love clinic. It's from 6:30 to 8.
It's free.
It's free. It's tomorrow night. You have no reason not to either log in or show up in person, other than, you know, unless you're busy or whatever. All right. Oh man, how do I get this down? All right, y'all. Good night. Love y'all. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Thank y'all.
Bye.
Peace.